Hey everyone, it's Danielle Taylor with Keller Williams Realty here on the beautiful Outer Banks and my favorite day of the month, Stats Day. So let's go ahead and dive in. All of this information is courtesy of the Outer Banks Association of Realtors, and the data is through April 30th, 2025. So here we go. One more thing, just a reminder, this is single family residential for all of Dare County and all of Corolla, including four-wheel drive. All right. So single family unit sales. How are the units doing? So year to date, April, we are down slightly, 2.4%, which actually equates to only 9 units. So it's pretty small, pretty statistically insignificant. We'll watch that to see if the trend continues, but it's sort of like we're down, but almost flat. So month over month, we're actually down 12.5% versus where we were last April. And we're down about 8.4% in unit sales over March. So overall, the market activity is holding, but I really want to watch and see if the April over March numbers are just a shift in timing of purchase or whether we're going to start seeing things slip as the year carries on. This is only 4 months worth of data. So anyway, that's where we are on unit sales. Second thing, inventory. So how are we doing on what we have to sell? I'm sure you all saw the headlines that came out from Redfin saying it's a buyer's market now and there's more buyers. Be very careful with that statistic, and even Redfin calls it out. Be very specific on the area you're talking about because it can vary drastically. So for us, our new listing inventory year-to-date 2025 over 2024 was up slightly. We're up about 5.5% in new listings. However, 27.7% of the properties that were listed in April are already sold or under contract. And those properties had an average days on market of 5. So, we have to be really careful about broad brushing everything with, one piece of data. So for my buyer clients, please beware that almost a third of the newly listed inventory has sold quickly. So if you're looking for a deal, buyers, if you're looking for a deal or to get something significantly under asking price, on a new listing, going low is not going to necessarily be your best strategy. The longer the product sits, the better the chance that you have more negotiating power. So just bear that in mind. Going in super low on a brand new listing doesn't typically work, and it may actually hurt you in the long run. So that's inventory. Inventory's up a little bit. How are we doing on pricing? Because if our units are down a little bit in terms of sales, our inventory's up, what's that doing to our price? So our median residential sale price year to date in 2025 is $710,192, which is actually up slightly from year to date last year. It's only about 1%, but it's up. Let me just say that again, because it does counter a lot of what I'm hearing. The sentiment is from my buyer clients. So while we may be selling slightly less units, so far those prices are holding. So be very careful when you're making your offers, and let's be really strategic. The median list price for all of the properties that are under contract is $754,900. So that's up from the $710,192 year-to-date sold. So we'll watch and see if that shifts that year-to-date sold number up even more. So be very careful. Let's watch that number. For our active inventory, we're sitting at about $830,000 as median list price. And so we still have that gap. The stuff that's active and sitting is still sort of out in left field versus what statistically we're seeing go under contract and sell. So that's for my sellers. If you really want to sell, be careful and be smart about where you're pricing it. If we price it too high, we will sit. That's just the way it goes in this market. The median sold to list ratio is 98%, okay, versus 98.4 year to date in 2024. So it's about the same. So we should expect to get about 98% of our list price when we sell. What I did do also though is look at sold to original. So remember, we are seeing price reductions, which we'll talk about in a minute. Our sold to original is 92.7. So that shows the impact of those price reductions. So when we're considering properties that have done at least one price reduction, it's good for my buyer clients to know that we may have that more wiggle room, which is what I said before. And for my sellers, be careful of going too high, because eventually you're going to end up getting a significantly less amount of your original list price. In terms of cash buyers, it's staying fairly consistent. We're sitting at about 28.3% of our buyers that have bought year to date at cash. Year to date, 2024, it was 32%. So a little more last year, but still in the same range. Price reductions. So we alluded to it above. Year to date, 2025, about 42.2% of the sold inventory did at least one price reduction before they sold. And that's up pretty significantly, because year to date last year, that was sitting at about 36.6%. So that's a pretty big delta. So we're seeing almost half of the properties needing to do at least one price reduction. So that's just the gap between buyers and sellers getting on the same page. In terms of under contract properties, 40.6 of those have done at least one price reduction. And if we look at our actives, it's 48.9. So almost 50% of our actives have done at least one price reduction. So the properties that are sitting are having to reduce price. Multiple offers. Do they still exist in this crazy market? They do. It's not a big percentage. It's about 16.7% year to date have received multiple offers or indicated they did. Just remember, it's not a required field, so some may slip through. But that's down from about 19.2% in 2024. Days on market. So how long are things sitting? So our average days on market for sold inventory is 75, and that's up from 54 year to date in 2024. Okay, so stuff is definitely taking longer to sell, and we know from above, it's likely when it's taking longer to sell, going to need price reductions. Remember those units that came on the market in April and went under contract in 5 days or less? That is the significant thing here, because the other stuff is sitting 75. So something to think about. Interestingly though, the under contract inventory currently has an average days on market of 66, which is under the 75. So again, as these under contract properties with a higher sale price, median, and less under contract days, this may start to skew. So it's kind of an interesting floopy market right now. Our active inventory, the average days on market sits at 109. That's down a little bit from full year last year, which was 116. But it's still, the active stuff that's not selling is 109. It's pretty long. So key takeaways, everybody, I beg of you, don't go by what the news is telling you. Call me, text me, write me, talk to another trusted realtor partner. Get the specifics for your area, whether it be the Outer Banks, where you live permanently, all of those things. Please, please, please get hyperlocal. That's today's message, and I hope you all have a great day. Remember, subscribe so you don't miss any of these, and also take a look at our newsletter so you get even more data information. Have a great day.